Hi, I'm Krista Brisky-Richard with the Chicago Park District, and welcome to the 8th season of Night Out in the Park's Cultural Event Series. This year's presentation of cultural experiences will undoubtedly be one to remember, but equally as exceptional as all the rest. For the first time in history of this outdoor arts and culture initiative, we're taking live performances and entertainment from our neighborhood parks into your home. Join us virtually as we travel across the city to enjoy rich cultural performances by some of our city's most talented artists. More than 40 of Chicago's very own arts partners from diverse disciplines will present works, available for you and your family to watch on demand from the comfort of your own home. Thanks to Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, and our newest partner, WTTW, for their continued support. Tune in to watch WTTW's presentation of Night Out in the Parks, The Stars in Your Backyard. The series of broadcast performances will feature 17 of our Night Out performers. Connect with Chicago's rich and cultural scene through our virtual series, Your Night Out at Home. Each week we'll premiere new digital performances by local artists. From dance and jazz to theater and world music, enjoy engaging entertainment in your own backyard, balcony, or living room at www.nightoutintheparks.com. Until we meet again, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you at the park really soon.
Hi everyone, my name is William Estrada.
Hi, I'm Aquil Charlton.
Hi, I'm Andrés Lemus-Spont.
Hi, I'm Marya Spont-Lemus.
The Mobile Creative Collaborative is a collective of 4 artists who utilize bicycle-based makerspaces to provide free creative workshops for youth and adults in public spaces. The Mobile Creative Collaborative invites you to join us and each other for interdisciplinary creative collaboration, critical conversations about what you care about, and mobilizing as part of our community workshop series. During this time, we are taking our workshops inside and invite you to partake in them by inviting your friends, your loved ones, and us in playing, making, and reimagining art making during this pandemic. I hope you enjoy.
So for this workshop, the 4 of us are all together here on Zoom, and we're going to lead you through some activities that are somewhat interconnected, but also can be done independently. And a big part of these activities are for you to be creative at home with the people around you, and often with materials and objects that you might already have around you.
You can take either an object or a sheet of paper, like so. You can also use newspaper, you can use a cereal box, anything that's paper-like. What I've done already is, while we were talking, I just ripped a little sheet of paper to make a little character here, right? So the other thing too is, like, you know, whatever you have, right? Like sometimes if you have sheets of paper like this, what I like to do is kind of like rip them a little bit, you know, and like start crumbling them a little bit here to make little, this can become part of my character.
Actually. And the bottle's kind of sticky from...
Yeah, the bottle can be sticky, right? So this can be one of my puppets right here. But the one thing is that I feel that, you know, makes them a little bit more relatable when you're seeing them as puppets, is to add some eyes to it. You know, so whatever you're doing, as long as you are able to add some eyes, you know, I'm just going to use these 2 circles here now and a little horizontal line to make my little character. But the fun part with this piece is, you know, you want to start thinking about what kind of, you know, its movements. You want to start thinking about what kind of name does it have? Does it have a name, right? Its origin, where does this little person, this little object, this little thing, this little puppet, where does it live? Where does it come from, right?
Can we make more than one?
Yeah, you can definitely make more than one. You know, you can start creating little dance partners, little flying around. And what kind of stories do you want to tell? What kind of stories do you usually hear, or what kind of stories do you want to tell that aren't usually told about your neighborhood? So, but I was thinking of Mun as the name. Well, Mun, right? Doesn't have to be gender specific, but you can make it a gender if you want to, but it doesn't have to either. We can start telling little stories with it too and communicate with our friends. And I like, Andres, I really like the way you ended up doing little patterns and shapes around there, right? So you can start decorating it too. What kind of paper puppets are you all making?
I'm using these handy water bottles I had. Whoever this is, I haven't found a name for this friend, but very friendly and vocal, maybe singing, maybe a singer, and loves to make sounds. So that's why I have the mouth open.
Yeah, this little paper puppet's a little nervous on being on camera. I don't know if you can tell by its facial expression there.
It looks a little nervous. Is that mom?
Well, that reminds me of something that I really like when making faces and like eyes, like the position of the eyes to the mouth, like can make such a huge difference to like its personality. Like we'll do our regular smiley, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's cute. Or we can do a smiley with a really big face, a really big mouth, and tiny little eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorites is the really far apart eyes and the tiny little mouth. Like, I don't know, there's like, in those three things, they can be like so expressive in like what the personality of that face could be like.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're like putting on eyeballs and or somehow finding a way to make your character expressive, definitely think about like, it's sort of like, it's related to patterns, right? It's sort of like where you place things really has an impact on how you read it and how it can like come to life.
Nice. And also I just want to point out, Andres, that you just created, you know, a couple of different paper puppets too, right? Just by putting little dots and little, you know, it's gonna be your little characters. And you can just paste that on objects too, right? And like that becomes the face.
I had a birthday card and what I turned it into, I actually kind of like. So what's nice about it is because, as you can see, like it was really easy for me to crumple this because it's like pretty thin paper. But the card paper is a lot thicker. And so it actually like stands up a lot better. And you can see it it has this like structure to it. And then I was just trying to make a nice eye and I realized that the eye looks sort of like stink eye. But
yeah, it almost looks like a little snake too. So kind of giving you that look like, go ahead, test me, test me. So I know, you know, I just found a little post-it from Andres, and I just put it on this you know, Kleenex box, but I like it because then like the hair looks almost like the hair, right? It's just like with that little like look like, oh.
Well, the thing about that is, so I'm starting to see a story in it where like, if that's its hair, then every time you pull it out, he's trying to get a haircut, but it just always grows back. It's just always long.
I've made two now, and this one's particularly friendly. This one seems like it's not particularly friendly, but it is. It's just beatboxing, and it's very serious about the beatbox, as you can see by the look.
Focus, right?
Yeah, very focused. Making some hardcore beats, and you just gotta like really get the face into it, facial muscles. When I think about,
Can you show us how do you make sounds with your bottles?
yeah, so with plastic bottles, they're great and they're all over the place. You know, like these plastic bottles, the more rigid they are, the better. This one's pretty great too. So I'm maybe gonna have this one join the cipher as well, and we'll figure out the face on this one. But you know, bottles, these materials have what's called resonance, where like air that goes into it, because of the shape of it and the hardness of the material, it sort of makes a sound that sounds bigger than just like it would if you were tapping like your hand or something soft. For this one, you can use air in a very specific way. You can sort of blow into the top of it, and the air that you're blowing sort of passing over the little hole, sort of some of it goes in and then circles around and then comes back out. And when it's vibrating, the air that vibrates, it makes it sound sort of like a tone, like maybe something you would play with a flute, or if you were whistling, you could sort of do it that way. And when you're, the technique is that if you're going to use air, you can sort of shape your mouth like you would whistle. And you just got to find the right angle. Sometimes it's about tilting it. You don't want to tilt it all the way back and drink from it, but more like tilt it forward and find the right angle to get it to go. And once you find it, try to stay in that same position. That's a great sound. And you know, sometimes you have more like a little bit more hard sounds, right? Like when you can use something to tap it, like I have this pencil and you can sort of tap different parts of the bottle. Or you can use the natural sort of crinkliness of a bottle. Like these water bottles, the little thin ones, are perfect for making crinkly sounds. And so if you have a plastic container that opens up and closes and makes a really funny sound, I think that's cool too. So one of the things that I was thinking about it, you know, you all were talking about patterns, is that, you know, I was starting a pattern and then sort of keeping a pattern going, but then I also took breaks just to listen to what other patterns might emerge and how you all might be changing my pattern. And then I went back to one once, and then another time I sort of just started a different pattern just to hear more of what you all are making. So I think with sounds, there's definitely patterns involved that feel good, and it also feels really good to break them up. Sometimes it sort of makes our brains light up and get excited to hear something change and do something different than what we expected.
Well, Aquil cued me up perfectly, because what I want us to think about is this idea of patterns, and when we want to make them and when we want to break them. And we can kind of think of pattern as like something that repeats in a predictable or somewhat predictable way. Just take a moment to notice or think about a specific pattern. It could be something that you see, so a design or you know, wallpaper, cloth, something like that. It could be an action in your life that you do repeatedly, or an experience that you regularly have. It could be something that you see happening in the world. It could be a rhythm that's sort of in your head or in your body. So the next step is to find or think of a way that you might show or represent or symbolize that pattern, that repetition. So it could be a few words or a movement or a shape or an image. So the last step is to break the pattern that you made. So it doesn't have to be that your pattern becomes the total opposite. It's just that something has to change.
The pattern I was thinking about was actually the pattern, it's like my Zoom pattern, which maybe I do in real life, but it's sort of like the cadence of my nodding, and then the frequency that I make this face. Okay, I'm listening, nodding along. Great point, great point. But then, instead of going back to resting smile face, I close my eyes, I squint really hard. And so it goes like this. It's like, that's my pattern.
I started tapping on the bottles, and I realized that like another way to play these bottles so that every bottle can participate is like the really hard sort of like ridges at the bottom make a lot of noise, and that way I can sort of like play. I was tapping it with a pencil, and they all have different sounds, and so I was trying to make a pattern that would be like monotonous, and then to break it. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about, just like how to use the bottles differently than what I was using, how I was thinking about using them before, which was mostly like blowing wind across or crinkling.
So, you know, as part of the Mobilize Creative Collaborative, right? Like I work a lot with paper, whether it's screen printing on it or whether we're making designs for buttons. So I took a paper and started folding it. Then when I opened it, right, I folded it into halves, like breaking up the actual square. What I was thinking about was like opening it up, you know, you start creating these beautiful lines, you know, that catch like the shadows. This is like another different way of like mark making, you know, repetition, that where I'm actually not making any physical like marks themselves with something else, but just using the light around and the material.
So I made this. And it uses my favorite colors, which are highlighter and black. And I basically wrote the word exhaustion a bunch of times and overlapping. So thinking of like language as repetition, my own like hurried handwriting as repetition, like I wasn't trying to make this like nice to look at. And then my way of breaking the pattern while still using the same tool, still using text, is I wrote make space for peace. So that is my on paper, using letters and language, making and breaking a pattern that I hope to adopt in the rest of my life. I don't know, I guess I just like thinking about how we practice breaking patterns, especially because, you know, even when it's in seemingly small ways, because I think it can help us remember that patterns don't have to be inevitable, that they are things that can change. And that is something that I need to remember sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing I particularly like about that, I mean, it reminds me a lot of the sort of the work that the four of us do in the Mobilize Creative Collaborative, like during the summers, where we're all making things and we're like we did today, we're sort of like building off of each other, but that the things we're making have like messages beyond the thing. Like there are applications more broadly in different parts of our lives, you know, whether it's about reusing things, whether it's about being creative, whether it's about having your voice heard, like all those things can all be part of that like really fun experience of making art with people you love, right?
We hope you enjoyed the activities we did in this video today, and that you find ways to use different materials and processes and ways of thinking and get people together that you want to make with and create something. Have a great time.
Let's see. Bye, everyone.